in Odesa. We have a special press conference today. We have two ministers of defense, Alexei Reznikov, Ukraine, and Margarita Robles, Spain. Not to lose our time, I will give them the floor right away. Good afternoon. I'm glad to welcome in Ukraine my friend, the friend of Ukraine, Ms. Robles, the Minister of Defense of Spain. I would like to emphasize that the support of the Spanish people, of the Spanish government, is very important for us because they clearly understand the seriousness of the war, and the fight of Ukraine for the European and international values, the values of the democracy and civilized world. When Russians started using the terrorist tactics, attacking the objects of infrastructure, trying to bring us to the darkness and coldness, Spain was the first to respond to our request to get the air defense system. They were the first to say that they will provide the Hawk and air defense systems, and we will soon get them from our Spanish friends. And today, Ms. Robles have visited personally different objects and institutions in Odessa. We have visited the hospital. We awarded our servicemen. And Ms. Robles told us that in Zaragoza, our servicemen also undergo treatment in hospitals there. And we have received yet another aid package from Spain to increase our capabilities. This is briefly, and I'm happy that our friends, our partners come to Ukraine. Ms. Lamberg, the Minister of Defense from Germany, has already visited us. We will have some more surprises, but this is not our first meeting here. I have more good news. Yesterday, I visited Mykolaiv to award our servicemen who were directly involved in liberation of both Mykolaiv and Kherson Oblast till the Dnipro bank. And I was glad to shake arms with servicemen, with volunteers, with different municipal service, saying thank you, because we have to thank each other. I would like to give floor to Ms. Robles.
Amigo el ministro Reznikov y a todo su equipo, la magnífica hospitalidad que nos han brindado, tanto a mí como al jefe de las Fuerzas Armadas. Satisfacción poder estar hoy aquí y, sobre todo, esta visita tiene un objetivo fundamental: transmitir el compromiso de España, que es el compromiso de todos los países de la Unión Europea y de la OTAN, con Ucrania, con el pueblo de Ucrania. Nosotros.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone and to welcome everyone. And I would like to thank my colleague, the people of Ukraine, for the possibility to visit this beautiful place, Ukraine. And I am here today. And I would like to say that my main mission, our main goal, is to say to the Ukrainian people that Spain is here with Ukraine and support Ukraine, similar to other European countries. All of us, Spain and other European countries, are amazed by the bravery of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, and we want to tell you about this. Ukraine does not only protect its territorial integrity and sovereignty, but also protects the whole Europe, the European civilized world, and the world of democratic values. That's why Spain acknowledges and supports Ukrainian efforts starting from the 24th of February. And we will continue to do this work. We will continue to support Ukraine. And I can speak not only about Spain, but other European countries and NATO countries, because Ukrainian values are democratic values, the values of the free world, and we support this. And I would like to say that we are inspired and amazed by the bravery and strength of the whole Ukrainian people. I would also like to say that for me personally, it was important to visit a hospital to see the wounded servicemen that protect their country. As I've already said to Mr. Minister, my friend, that Spain is here with Ukraine to support Ukraine. Thank you. I have the question from Reuters agency, and then I will give floor to our journalist here. The question is about the Russian consortium that produces Bok S-300. There are sanctions now against this consortium. Has been the process finalized, and what is the situation right now? The Ministry of Defensa is not involved in such activity related to sanctions. This is the task of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is responsible for this. I am, as the member of the Defense Council, always vote for limitations for Russian companies, enterprises, and collaborators, but I cannot provide you more detailed information. Thank you. The floor is to our journalist. My name is Olga Donska, the Fifth Channel. You have announced yet another package of the aid from Spain. Can you provide more details? There is one issue. Some of the elements of the package cannot be disclosed due to the safety and security reasons. After the armed forces of Ukraine start using this, I will be able to provide you more details. We have discussed a lot of details with you today. We have discussed the possibility of strengthening the ground forces of Ukraine, the continuation of the support to air defense, and also the Navy.
Free to hit military targets in Russia. Do you agree with this position?
La posición de España es la que mantiene.
The position of Spain is always coordinated with NATO and the EU. And the position and the NATO position is very clear. NATO fully supports the Ukraine's struggle for its territorial integrity without any issues. We believe that this war that has been started by Putin is very cruel, and this is the war against the whole civilized world. And Spain hopes that someday the Russian will be brought to liability in international institutions and tribunals. But meanwhile, Spain's position is fully coordinated with NATO's position. So this is the full support of Ukraine in protecting its territorial integrity. So this is the support without any nuances. So the Spanish colleagues, Le Monde, Brazilian TV, and then 1+1. It's way in translation, yes. So the information about packages with explosions, what we know at the moment. We've received such emails with the explosives in different objects, including the satellite control center, the base Torrejon. Apart from this, there was one more package with the explosives to the Ukrainian embassy in Madrid. The investigation is ongoing. But I would like to note that no such activities or similar activities can change the clear position of Spain to support Ukraine and to continue supporting Ukraine in defending its freedom and integral territory, because we know that Ukraine fights for its independence and fairness.
What would you say to your Western allies who may think that the Dnieper River is a good line to stop the counteroffensive? In other words, Donbass will be okay to be reconquered, but not Crimea. What would you say about that? Which is a true concern among your allies.
Позиція України абсолютно чітка і зрозуміла.
The position of Ukraine is clear and understandable. We declare it at all levels, starting from the President of Ukraine, Mr. Volodymyr Zelensky, then through the government, with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Kuleba, and myself. And the position is clear. Russia started this war in 2014 by occupying Crimea and partially Luhansk and Donetsk oblasts. Ukraine's task today, after brutal invasion and transition from hybrid war to a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, is the full deoccupation of all temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Till the moment, as of 1991, when the Ukrainian borders were defined on the international level. This means that we will continue our policy and campaign until we reach the full deoccupation of all Ukrainian territories, including Crimea, Luhansk, and Donetsk. Our position is transparent, and every time we tell about this to our partners and allies. And I would like to say even more. At the level of the ministers of defense, that can be called Rammstein Club, all of them understand this and fully support our position. I have clear signals from my colleagues within the Rammstein meetings that Alexei, we will be with you till the end of the war, whatever it can take. Brazil TV, then 1+1, and Radio Freedom.
Brazilian Pan-American Television and Net Television. I would like you ministers to talk about support for Ukraine in the following year, in 2023. And we see some stockpiles of weapons running low in the West. How do you see support from Europe and from other countries military support, military support to Ukraine, and how do you see the global south? You, Minister Reznikov, you have asked for Brazil, for instance, some ammunition from Gepard, and they pretended they were blind, that they didn't hear that. How do you see Russian influence in global south, such as India, South Africa, and Brazil?
Precisamente hoy en la comida uno de los temas que hemos
I would like to say that today we discussed the necessity and usefulness of the support of countries, not only on the European, but also on the American continent, the Spanish-speaking countries.
esta guerra tiene un único culpable, que es Putin.
I believe that all of us understand that this war has been started by Putin, and this is a very cruel, unfair, and unclear war that started in the 21st century. That's why we understand, Spain understand that all countries should be involved and support Ukraine, which is very important. That's why we understand that Spain, with its traditional connections, the Latin America and other countries of the American continent, can do everything possible to ensure support to Ukraine on that continent in its struggle. And my part of the answer. Firstly, the Russian army could not defeat the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian defense sector. They planned to occupy Kyiv in 3 days and 72 hours, failed. The convoys of tanks transported the parade uniform because they believed that in 3 days they will have parade in the Khreshchatyk Street, which is the central street of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, but they failed. This is the ninth month of war now, and we gradually, successfully occupy territories that were conquered, that have been conquered starting from the 24th of February this year. Yes, we are supported by the whole civilized world, and we appreciate this support in forms of armament, economic, political pressure, and sanctions. The Russians have started war against civilians. They use cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and Iranian drones. Now they behave, and this is what they are, as the terrorist country. This fact has been recognized at the political level by Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, the Czech Republic, the European Parliament, the European Parliament Assembly, and of course the Ukrainian Parliament. But I think that this is only the start. The whole world starts to acknowledge that this is the terrorist state. And the terror knows no limits. Today, Ms. Robles told us about the email with explosives that are used in Spain. So they used the terrorist means to have the impact. In Ukraine, they start to cut us from electricity and heating for us to be in cold and in darkness. So this is the challenge for the whole world. This means that all countries producing weapons should also rely on their stocks in their countries and to be able to support us with the projectiles, with these missiles. Ukraine in the future. IRIS-T, NASAMS, all these systems require missiles because we use like anti-aircraft missiles to respond to Russian attacks. The use of Iranian drones, this is a test of terrorist weapons in Ukraine that they can tomorrow use in your country. Even if there is a football match, it will be also under risk because it can be attacked by the Iranian drones. That's why I would like to call for our partners to explore this and study these drones, to provide us technical advice on how to fight these drones. And I told to my colleagues that there will be Olympic Games in 2 weeks, and our partners should understand how to protect their stadiums, because now we need to learn how to destroy Iranian drones and Russian missiles for Russia not to be able to use these tactics of terror against your countries. Today, with Ms. Robles, we have discussed that the countries of the Latin America is the whole world with a huge potential. That's why they need to understand that it is needed today to support Ukraine to fight Russia. And in Madrid, it was mentioned that Russia is the main threat for the next decade. And this means that we are protecting your eastern borders, and the border between Ukraine and the hostile territories is 2,500 kilometers. This is Belarus, Russia, and the temporarily occupied territories. This is kind of a shield of 2,500 kilometers, perhaps this is the distance to Barcelona and from Madrid, and we protect this whole sector. That's why it is of interest of the whole world to increase their capacity in terms of the producing of weaponry, to increase our capacity and to increase our solidarity, which are key factors that will help us to win. 1+1, Radio Freedom, and then Premier Channel. Sergei Osadchuk, I have the question to both ministers, but I will start with Ms. Robles. Today you felt actually what Ukrainian citizens experience every day due to the air alert, and you can see that Odesa is partially in the blackout as the whole of Ukraine because of the attacks on our infrastructure. And I have the question, can we expedite the processes of provision of anti-aircraft missile system to Ukraine that will be able to close the Ukrainian skies, that we will dominate not only on land, but also in the skies, in air? Let's allow our translators to translate. And then you will be able to continue to have the second question.
La realidad de la ciudad, la realidad del país, ha oído sonar las alarmas por posible ataque aéreo, ha visto que la ciudad se encuentra en gran parte en la oscuridad por falta de energía eléctrica. Entonces, en vista de estas realidades, queríamos saber si existe alguna manera de acelerar la entrega de sistemas de defensa antiaérea de manera que ese equilibrio, esa paridad de fuerzas que ya existe sobre el terreno, pues también pueda ser lograda en el cielo.
Sure think that we'll do everything possible to provide the relevant systems to Ukraine, basing on the stocks that we have. I would also like to say that the handling over of such systems shall be confidential, following the relevant protocols. And of course, at the meetings of the contact group and also on the meetings at the EU and NATO level, we know that the anti-aircraft system is the number one priority. But you also should understand that when it comes to this topic, everything should be rational, balanced and, of course, with proper secrecy. And I would like now to ask the question, Mr. Reznikov. Is there a possibility to use Soviet S-300 systems to increase our stocks, because we're quite effective with this, and to combine it with modern air defense systems, we can achieve the maximum result? You're perfectly right. S-300 proved to be rather effective, but they were not produced in Ukraine, so we do not have the facilities to produce these missiles. So we use our stocks, and I personally discuss this topic with the countries who have in stock such missiles. So we are negotiating the possibility of having these missiles from their stocks. And so this is my 24/7 work, not only with regard to S-300, so all the time it's a jet lag for me because I communicate with different countries from Japan to the United States. Radio Freedom.
Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. I'd like to ask you about the naval drone fleet that President Zelensky announced he wanted to create last month. Can you tell me how much of a role you see that in maritime defense in the coming year? How much money have you raised on this United 24 crowdfunding site? How much would you like to raise? And to Minister Robles, is Spain considering crowdfunding or donating money or encouraging private citizens in Spain to donate to this, as some other countries like Lithuania have?
España está recibiendo
Spain provides support to Ukraine, humanitarian aid, and also assists Ukraine in accommodating those Ukrainian citizens who flee to Spain. And we have raised around $300 billion through the mechanism of the European Fund for Peace. So we transferred this money through the fund. And we will continue cooperate in the framework of what is needed according to the European Union through the European Fund for Peace. And I would also like to answer your questions. This is a very good question. This is a timely question. The thing is that one of the strategic tasks of Russia is to fully block Ukraine in Azov and Black Sea areas. For Ukraine not to be able to have economic activities and to supply food to the world. Ukraine is one of the major producers of grains, sunflower oil, corn, and seeds. And you know that in African and Asian countries, people need bread that they can cook using Ukrainian grain. When Russians dominated in the Black Sea on the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we were blocked and we could not supply grain to the rest of the world. And Ukrainian missile Neptune, thanks to the joint efforts of Ukrainian Navy, we have the Admiral Neish Papa, who is here today and who is one of the hero of that mission. Together with Ukrainian engineers, sent the Russian military ship Moscow, you know well where. And I would also like here to say that now we have one more sightseeing place. This is the sunk Moscow military ship. And it had onboard missiles, and they used it to block Zmini, and they actually deprived us of the freedom of shipping. And this is one more proof and evidence that they try to destroy the world order. We have liberated the island of Zmini, and you know that now we have the grain agreement, and Ukrainian ships are able to deliver grain from Ukraine to the rest of the world, thanks to the activities of Turkey, Mr. Erdogan, and the UN, Mr. Gutierrez, who support and actually who are one of the authors of this initiative. When we received the modern Harpoon systems from our partners, we were able to repel even further the Russian naval fleet, and they are hiding now. Now they use projectiles under the surface and on the surface to launch calibers to Ukraine. So the humanitarian task is to continue delivering safely grain to the world, to protect our civilians' objects by continuing campaign of sinking the Russian fleet for it to follow Moscow military ship. That's why we need these marine drones that will continue to fulfill this task efficiently. I'm not the operator of the fundraising fund, and there are accounts open. I do not know I cannot say the precise number and value now, but we need to have enough money for the engineers to be able to fulfill the military missions.
Small fleet. Is this sort of a new phase, a new era of maritime defense, these drones? Do you hope to sort of make this a new strategy?
Дивіться, ця війна змінює взагалі тактику ведення.
You see, this war has been changing the tactics of war in Ukraine. And it started as the conventional one, and everyone believed that tanks and artillery as of the old days. But you see that now we fight with the tanks and artillery. But thanks to partner, we have the more modern artillery, 155 caliber and M250 MLU from France that we've just recently got HIMARS, etc. But you know that drones in the skies, they provide surveillance, coordinate artillery, and kamikaze or combat drones destroy the equipment. The drones, marine drones, they have their tasks and missions, and land drones are able to deliver the armament or to take wounded from the combat zone, from the front line. And we see that the future of wars is drones, and this can help to preserve lives of servicemen. But now we're expecting the huge progress in the world, and our servicemen, they just learn to use uniquely some new equipment, new techniques, and actually this is what the whole world has been doing. And in Ukraine, these equipment are tested, so this is the combat testing field. Do you have any more questions to the ministers? If no, I would like to thank you for participating in this briefing.
Прес-центр. Дякую за те, що прийшли.
Thank you very much for being here. This is all for today. Thank you very much.
Минулий раз, коли ми в сусідній кімнаті з вами записували інтерв'ю, якраз перед війною, вийшло воно якраз в перший день
Перед
війни.
вторгненням. Війна
Перед-
почалася в
перед
2014
вторгненням,
році.
да,
Да, це
повномасштабне.
відкритий час.
От, і заголовок там був такий, що Київ бомбити не будуть, бо це другий Єрусалим. Та? Ви, типу, самі думали, що це правда і що не будуть? Чи просто ви намагалися не піднімати паніку і...
Це комплекс. Ну, я б насправді не хотів і не планував, і робив все, щоб не було паніки, свідомо, це зрозуміло абсолютно. Але я дійсно свідомо не вірив, що вони будуть бомбити як Київ, так, власне кажучи, інші мирні міста. Я вам скажу більше, я коли був на зустрічі з президентом Байденом і паном Блінкеном і Мостіном в Варшаві в свій час, в березні, то якраз на тій зустрічі, коли ми знайомилися, я був з Дмитром Кулебою, з моїм колегою по уряду, я так і сказав, кажу, шановний пане президенте, я хочу зробити камін-аут. Я хочу зізнатися, що я помилився. Тому що я був переконаний і всім говорив, що вони не будуть бомбити мирні цивільні міста, тому що я був переконаний, і за даними, до речі, і розвідки в тому числі, що у очільника Кремля була мрія, що його будуть зустрічати з квітами на вулицях, як збирача земель, значить, нового імператора і так далі. Тому що за даними нашої розвідки, їх розвідку, йому доповідало, що мінімум 30% буде в нього зразу підтримки, особливо як Південь і Схід, що дуже мирно все відбудеться, як це було в Криму в 2014 році починалося, практично без серйозного спротиву. Тобто він був, але недостатньо, щоб зупинити цю навалу. І, відповідно, не мало сенсу бомбити. А уж тим паче місто, де є Лавра, і у них там мрія, скажімо так, що тут відновити всі ті історії. Тому я дійсно помилявся, і я знову ж таки зізнаю це абсолютно так. Тому тепер я теж, скажімо, більш зважено роблю певні прогнози.
У нас була розмова з головою ГУР, паном Кирилом Богдановим. Да. І він казав, що 23 числа, тобто він точно знав, що буде напад, і що він все вище керівництво країни, військово-політичне, про це проінформував на зустрічі в Офісі президента. Але ми в той же час знаємо, що 24-го вранці у вас планувався виліт з України. Та? Тобто, чому...
Не з України, а в ООС, в операцію пробудових сил.
Мається на увазі з Києва. Тобто, ви не вірили Буданову, чи просто якось,
дивіться,
як це відбулося?
Наші дані і дані, які в тому числі доповідалися,